In lieu of an opening, I'm going to begin with an explanation today. Hopefully it will help some of the anger people have expressed to me over my not ending recent videos telling people not to vote for Trump. First, and obviously my response to that is the election is over. He's already been elected. And I'm genuinely sorry about that. But I do understand some of the responses I have gotten back because I'm doing a series this time, and these videos don't quite end like the other videos have, because each video is setting up the next. Today, for example, is part 3 in our 4-part series, and originally this series was intended to be a 3-part series. The first episode was a last-minute addition. I wanted to talk about Trump and his religious, namely so-called Christian followers. And some of these Christian followers place a huge emphasis on the 10 Commandments. So before we could talk about them, I felt I had to do an episode on Trump's relationship with those 10 Commandments. Otherwise, there'd be a lot of people saying, well, why didn't you just talk about that? So that became episode 1. In the next episode, I talked about a particular group of Christians, the Theobros, who are one of the groups emphasizing the 10 Commandments. And I talked about their desire to create, amongst other things, a new American code of law, replacing the current code and basing the new one on the 10 Commandments. In that video, I work hard at revealing what they believe, how they might be disturbingly well connected, how they might be even more disturbingly well funded, and ready to take over given the right chance. And that chance, well, might be closer than you think. Now, let me say that all of these episodes were planned with the intention of the 4th episode being the big reveal, the solution to the previous 3. But right now, if you ask me, I think that episode number 2 may turn out to be the most important of the 4. If you were to only watch one, if you were to only share one, if you were to only tell someone else about what you learned in one of these episodes, that episode would be number 2, the one on the Theobros. I think it is that important. All of this is headed for a 4th episode that I envision will be entitled something like, it's time for rational thinking Americans, and especially liberals and real Christians, meaning real Christians who actually follow the teachings of Jesus Christ in their lives. It's time for them to take a different tack in response to Trump, his words, and his actions as president.
Yeah, you may have to shorten that a bit to get it on the thumbnail, don't you think?
Okay, yeah, it's more of a working title, actually. So if that's the goal, if that's where we want to go, we need to figure out at this point what makes Trump special. I know that's an uncomfortable question for a lot of people. Look, I'm going to begin today with one simple question. What is Trump's superpower?
Welcome to the Sky Pilot podcast that explores questions of faith, spirituality, and religion. I'm Dan Matthews, and I don't have all the answers, but I do enjoy the questions. Welcome to the podcast where every question is an invitation into a spiritual quest, and you're invited along for the journey.
I'm Dan. This is Quark. We're your co-pilots for today's spiritual quest. You found your way to Sky Pilot Faith Quest. Welcome. We're glad to have you here. So the question for today is, as I said in the opening, what is Trump's superpower? Or maybe the truth is, and this is a disturbing thought, maybe he has more than one. What are his superpowers?
Superpowers? Oh my, you're going to get a lot of responses to that, and not particularly positive ones.
Okay, look, let's be honest with ourselves. He has an ability to be mystifyingly successful at certain elements of politics, and it seems like he has some sort of power, some abilities that others don't have. So today, I'm going to talk about this, and we're going to see, as we talk, what we can discover.
So you think that Trump has some sort of power, some sort of magic, some sort of, what do they say, mojo, that others don't have?
Yeah, I guess I do.
And please just tell me you aren't going to claim that he is a political savant.
No, I am definitely not going there. And the truth is, I'm pretty sure that his superpowers that I'm going to describe are not ones that most of us would care to possess, but they seem to serve him well and his goals well. Now, since you brought up magic, let's start there. Is Trump Another way of thinking of superpowers, is he magical? Or better yet, is he a magician? So first, let's talk about what a magician is. I guess you could say that there are two types of magicians. The magicians we know from, say, a fantasy story, and then the magicians we see on stage. And generally, they're very different characters. They stay in different lanes. The magician from a fantasy story possesses some truly supernatural powers that they can remarkably and mysteriously wield to make amazing transformations happen in the world around them. Now, they might be called different things in different stories. So in one, they're called wizards or witches.
You're a wizard, Harry.
Yeah, exactly. They can be called wizards or witches, they can be sorcerers, they can be magi or magician, but they possess some sort of power that lets them do amazing and inexplicable supernatural things that others cannot do. Then there's another type of magician. This is the stage performer who puts on, well, a magic show. And I mean, obviously, it doesn't have to be on a literal stage, but it's still a performance, a show, a series of illusions, and generally, they don't claim, they almost never claim, to be doing actual magic. They acknowledge that it's a show. Most of the entertainment value is that they still do amazing and remarkable things that leave the audience wondering, how did they do that? This type of magician is a master of three things. One is storytelling. Almost always there's a lot of talking and setting up the trick. And this talking isn't just filling the void, it's a vital part of the trick and the experience. Often it involves the magician telling you what she or he is doing, kind of giving you the illusion that you, the observer, are a part of the team. You're behind the scenes getting an explanation of how the magician is about to do the trick. But you don't know how it's done, and in the end, you're always left puzzled and mystified as to how the trick was pulled off. Now, a second major part of magic, this type of magic, is misdirection. The magician is very skilled at managing where we, the observer, are looking, where our focus is. And then finally, the magician is extremely practiced at hiding what is truly happening. This is most obvious when watching a trick with sleight of hand. The magician has countless ways to hide the coin, the card, the object that is the focus of the trick. So here's the question. Is Donald Trump a magician of either type?
Can we start someplace else? Let's ask if he thinks he is a magician.
Okay, good. That's a good place to start. All right, does Donald Trump believe he is a magician, as in a real magician, we'll start there, with supernatural powers that other people don't have? And the answer to this one is maybe the most difficult of any kind of question or issue we're going to look at today, because it asks a more basic question. Donald Trump seems to be committed to creating an illusion. Maybe a better way of saying it is a delusion. And this question asks, how deep does that delusion go? Does he actually believe it, or does he just want us to believe it? Now, I would guess that he thinks himself special, or maybe even, or yes, entitled, but not magical. Now, having said that, there are plenty of times in which he has made claims that seem to imply he is well beyond the capabilities of mere mortal people who the rest of us fill the world as. During COVID, he wanted to portray, even when he had COVID, that he was immune. He said, quote, "I'm immune. I feel so powerful. I walk into the audience. I kiss everyone in that audience." He believes that he has one of the greatest memories of all time. Not a really good memory, but actually one of the greatest memories of any human who has ever lived. Now stop to think about that. He believes that about himself.
But how do you know he believes that?
Because he has literally said, I have one of the greatest memories of all time. Look, he has claimed the ability to do so many things in a promised amount of time period that one could assume that in those claims, he is claiming some sort of magical or superpower. But I don't think this is the case. I think mostly he just wants others to believe that he is verging on superhuman. Also, all of his claims are really more like the banter of the stage magician, intending to make us feel like we know what he's really doing, but not really telling us what he's doing, and in the end, we're mystified and we don't have a clue. So I don't think he believes he's magical or an honest-to-goodness superhero with superhuman abilities, but I do believe that he often encourages a level of devotion and expectation in those who follow him that will cause them to believe it. So does Donald Trump believe that he is a magician in the stage and performance sense? Does he believe that he's a master of performance, storytelling, illusion, and misdirection? Oh, absolutely. But I want to say, I don't think he is. And the press will often suggest that he's a master of controlling our focus so we're not paying attention to the things that he wants us not to see, not to be aware of. Look, let me say this again. I disagree with that strongly. I think he has two particular things, two powers, if you will, that help him, and I'm going to tell you what they are. Look, getting back to his superpower-esque abilities. If we were to describe him as a superhero...
If I might interrupt, perhaps supervillain would work better in this case.
Yeah, okay. If he were a supervillain from the comics, I think his name would be Captain Chaos.
Oh, I like that. Is that original with you?
No, it's another movie reference. It's a character played by Dom DeLuise in the Cannonball Run movie franchise. But the title certainly fits in this case. He's a mercurial and impulsive decision maker, and that, as a matter of course, causes him to be surrounded by just a staggering level of chaos at all times. Let's be honest, if Donald Trump had not been born with a lot of money, his management style would never have led to any wealth or him amounting to anything, because he is the master of chaos, which relates to one of his tools. Thor has a hammer. Wonder Woman has a lasso, the Green Lantern has a ring, and Trump's primary tool, I would argue, is chaos. When he first came into the White House in his second term, he signed over 70 executive orders on a single day, I think at a single sitting. The press has called this flooding the zone, overwhelmed the other side with so much data that they can't keep up. And he did the same with his appointments for his cabinet.
So, in other words, create chaos.
Exactly. Let's be honest again, the chaos went beyond numbers. A huge number of these executive orders were, well, poorly thought out with little to no planning as to how they would actually be implemented. The sheer number created chaos, but equally important for us to notice is the executive orders themselves on an individual level created chaos as well. One of Trump's villainous superpowers is to wreak chaos, and then, this is really important, and then just be comfortable with the chaos that ensues. It's really important for us to remember just how comfortable he is with the chaos, with the mess that he creates in most things. So one of the problems for the modern day press is that I think they don't really know what America wants to see, wants to hear, or needs to see and needs to hear. So they treat every story as kind of a tabloid story, writing about every single little juicy detail in hopes that something they have shown or written about will capture the attention of the American public, will go viral, and then that's what they will spend their time reporting on. Trump gained his fame in New York City as a focus of that type of journalism. He is accustomed to being the focus of tabloid-type news. I think the press used to see themselves as kind of doing good, as the fourth estate, but I believe there's very little of that going on today. Mostly they are in the job of selling news. They want to see what we will buy, regardless if it is important, damaging, or helpful. So they just report everything, and the more salacious, the better, in hopes of seeing what will gain viewers, what will go viral, what we will be interested in as the public. And again, that works as an unwitting partner of Trump's Captain Chaos style. I think one of the tricks in Trump's bag of tricks is to flood the zone. He actually often doesn't have a plan or even an outline of a plan, but I think he knows what he wants to ultimately have happen, I think. So he floods the zone. He overwhelms the news with so many things that the public and the press are distracted, overwhelmed, and miss seeing what the ultimate goal really is, or sometimes misseen what the most damaging thing that he has done really is.
But if this is so effective for him, then why don't other politicians use this? It seems like such an obvious tool.
Great question. Let me use a cinematic example here. In the world of films, there is a very popular trope. It is the guy rescues daughter, wife, girlfriend, female neighbor. It doesn't really matter who. It's guy rescues female action movie trope. Often driven by someone who has a surprising skill or ability.
Oh yes, like Liam Neeson.
Yeah.
I can tell you I don't have money, but what I do have are a very particular set of skills. Skills I've acquired over a very long career. Skills that make me a nightmare for people like you.
Yes, Donald Trump is kind of like this.
A hero.
No, not a hero. Definitely not a hero.
An amazing physical specimen fighter.
No, not an amazing fighter.
A man with the ability to create an intricate plan and then see it through?
Okay, no. Liam Neeson from the movie Taken maybe was not the best example for me in this one. That was a bad choice. Okay, I got it. I got a different one. There's a movie that's going to be released called Novocaine, and it hasn't been released yet, so you haven't seen it, and you can't interrupt me. It stars Dennis Quaid's son, Jack Quaid, and in short, it's an action-adventure film, again of the guy rescues gal variety. Think regular guy with unusual medical condition rescues kidnapped female character. And in this case, the hero has one unique ability, or perhaps I should say, inability. He has a medical condition that causes him to be unable to feel pain.
So, Trump can't feel pain?
No, you really are on some sort of really literal kick right now, aren't you? No, I'm not saying that Trump can't feel pain, but actually, it's kind of close. I don't think he can feel shame. Shame is a powerful inhibitor for many of us. Most of us at some level, well, we worry a lot about a single question. What if someone found out? We would feel shame, so we don't do whatever we're thinking about. Donald Trump, the best I can tell, doesn't feel shame. So he can flood the zone with whatever he wants because he doesn't, after all the melee is over, feel any shame or remorse for the chaos or the suffering that he's caused by what he's done.
All right, so Captain Chaos has a tool. That's chaos. He also has the ability, or inability. He doesn't feel shame. So where does he get his power? What drives him?
Okay, we're sticking with the superhero kind of imagery here. So Superman gets his power from our sun, Hulk from exposure to radioactivity, the Green Lantern from his ring. What's the source of Trump's power? Or maybe better yet, what fuels him? What drives him? Well, this one's pretty simple. Donald Trump is fueled by attention. He wants to be, more than anything else, in the spotlight, the center of attention. That single motivator drives every single decision that he makes.
Wait, not the desire to be rich.
I would say they are the same thing. In the world, as Donald Trump observes it, what's the factor that will ensure someone receives all the attention they desire? Is it looks? No. Is it brilliance? No. Is it talent? No. Is it creativity? No. Is it honesty? No, that one's just a joke. No. But money? If you have a stupid amount of money, you can always be assured that you will have all the attention, all the adulation you desire. So money for Trump is really, I think, primarily about attention. Trump wants to be known as rich because the richer people assume him to be, the more attention comes with that assumption. How do we know that? Okay, that's why back in the days before politics, he would do interviews, and the only questions that were off limits, before he did the interview, he would tell the interviewer, the only questions that were absolutely off limits were in regards to his actual level of wealth. Stop to think about that. Want to ask him about cheating on his spouse? No problem. He's happy to talk about that because he doesn't feel shame. Just don't dare imply that he isn't as rich as he says he is. So here's the summation for today. Does he have abilities? Yes, he generates chaos wherever he goes, and perhaps more importantly, he's really comfortable in that chaos. And he doesn't feel shame. You could add to that empathy. He doesn't feel empathy either, I think. And those make him seemingly bulletproof to many of the attempts to stop him. Also, let's remember, Donald Trump has no special power of misdirection. He's just making most of this stuff up as he goes along. Trump's not like a magician using carefully practiced sleight of hand or carefully choreographed misdirection. He's more like a magician who yells fire in a crowded theater so he can later claim he successfully pulled off the trick. And that's all for today. Look, I think we need a new way of responding and reacting to Trump, and I'm going to talk about that in the next video. Now that we know his strengths and weaknesses, we need to focus on something, well, that's a little less fun, but no less important. What are our weaknesses? Why is he so good at defeating everything we, the opposition, try? Stay tuned for next week's episode, which will focus on how to begin to turn the tide. And on your spiritual journey, may you ask questions, seek answers, and boldly go wherever the quest takes you.
Thanks for joining us here today and being part of the Sky Pilot Faith Quest community. This is a great place to ask questions you wouldn't feel comfortable or safe asking in other places. And remember, the sign of a strong faith, solid religion, or healthy spiritual journey is not certainty, but that you keep asking questions.